Hi everybody. Happy Vijayadashami. Today we'll be discussing IJPP 2025 April-June edition. We'll be discussing scarlet fever. Just 10-15 minutes we will discuss. Okay. So I have taken up this topic because we are seeing more and more cases, especially during this winter season and when school starts. Okay. So it's an age-old disease. Some 1553 people have described it. A physician called Ingracia have named it as Rosalia because it looked small, fiery, red rash with numerous spots. It was looking like patient was on fire. Okay, so he named it like that. But now we know it is secondary to group A streptococcal infection. So introduction சொல்லிட்டு சொல்லணும்னாக்க it's a re-emerging disease you guys tell. It's a bacterial infection you need to tell. Okay. So epidemiology, just 2 lines you will write. It commonly infects children between 5 to 15 years of age, most commonly between 7 and 8 years of age. And like I said, it's common during this winter season, early spring season. How does it get transmitted? It is by respiratory secretions, cough, nasal discharge, and salivary droplets. Okay. So what is the causative organism? The causative organism is group A streptococcus, which is Streptococcus pyogenes toxigenic strains. Okay, so it produces pyrogenic exotoxins. It's a gram-positive coccus that happens in chains. It has got beta hemolytic activity. So when they put in culture, that is what they will want to see. It's a catalase negative organism. Okay, so why does the classical feature of scarlet fever happen? The classical features happen because of the pyrogenic exotoxin, SPEA, SPEB, SPEC. Okay, so these three things act as super antigens, and that is responsible for the rash and the generalized toxic symptoms that a scarlet fever child has. So that's about the bacteriology. Clinical features, how do they present? They present like upper respiratory infection. Having said that, they don't have the classical features of a viral infection. Okay, so let's see what this has. Then we will talk about what it will not have. So what will scarlet fever have? Scarlet fever will have children come with very high grade fever, sore throat. When you open the throat and see, it will be red, angry. They will have donut-like lesion, like round, 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 round red with center clearing can be there. Or it can be diffusely erythematous. Lot of exudates can be there in the pharynx, in the tonsils. Okay. It can be white exudate or a yellow exudate. Skin, you can see rashes. It's classically described as sandpaper rash, scarlet uniform rash. It's fine erythematous. When you touch, you will find the roughness on the skin of the patient. Neck, chest, groin, everywhere it will be there and it will generalize. Tongue, if you see, initially it will be white, later it will be red, earning it the name of this classical strawberry tongue. Okay. And if you lift up the child's axilla, you will see pastias lines, linear rows of red papules. Okay, so wherever skin folds are there, you will be seeing it. It will be in the groin, it will be in the axilla, it can be in the antecubital fossa. You might notice peeling of skin for the children. Periungual regions, toes, groin, during recovery, you will be seeing. Cervical lymphadenopathy can be there. It will be small, multiple, tender lymph nodes can be present. Okay, some gut symptom like nausea and vomiting can be there. Loose stools is uncommon. And generally children tend to be tired. Okay. So these are the classical features of a scarlet fever. Okay, so now when you see a child who's coming with high grade fever, red tongue, you are seeing exudative tonsils, angry pharynx, tender cervical lymphadenopathy. And then you think of, okay, could this be a streptococcal throat infection? Now, you need to know whether it is actually streptococcal throat infection. So the thing that you can do is a throat swab. Take it as a double throat swab. Okay, so the first throat swab that goes to the lab, you will ask them to do a rapid antigen detection test, RADT. Okay, so rapid antigen detection test, and within few minutes it will give you results. It's got a good specificity, meaning positive naka, it is positive. Okay, so you can go ahead and start treating the patient. But if it is negative, whatever the second swab you have taken, you ask them to proceed for processing for culture. Okay. So by 30% of your actual streptococcal infections can have negative rapid antigen detection test. So that's why you ask them to go ahead and do a culture. If it is positive, you don't have to ask them to process for culture. Then once culture comes positive, if it is positive, it is positive. How long will you wait? You can wait for up to 48 hours. Most of the cultures turn out to be positive in the first 24 hours. But next to 24 hours, like 25 to 40% of the cultures can still turn positive. So you wait for first 48 hours for the culture to tell you whether it is positive or not. Okay. ASO lighter, see ASO titer, it is more to tell, yeah, recently child has had a streptococcal infection, but for acute diagnosis, it is not going to help you. There are a lot of PCRs which are available, which will negate the necessity for you to wait for a 24 or a 48-hour culture, real-time PCR. The downside might be cost, but it's got a good sensitivity and a specificity of about 95%. Okay, so now you have done these tests. Can you not use clinical scores that you are reading in your textbooks? You have this McIsaac score, this Centaur score, some fever pain scores. So these are all scoring systems that are available to diagnose a gastroenteritis. Okay, so same symptomatology that we discussed: fever, your cervical lymphadenopathy, exudates in the throat. So those will be your clinical parameters that you enter in that scoring system and you get ahead with a score. So it's more used in adult population rather than in the pediatric population. And in pediatric population, most of the time it doesn't detect well. And even if it, the score crosses, it more tells you, yeah, you can go ahead and do a testing rather than telling you to treat the patient. So you might as well go ahead and test the patient rather than doing the scoring system and then deciding whether to test or not to test. So what are all the other conditions that can present similarly? So this fever, red throat, cervical lymphadenopathy, rash can be there in so many other conditions. So the common differentials, infectious differentials would be your fifth disease, erythema infectiosum, where kutti chotu infants who are otherwise okay, well appearing, afebrile, but have this slapped cheek appearance, correct? So that's one of the differentials. Measles, how does it start? Measles has very classical conjunctivitis, coryza, and then cough. Three classical C's will be present. Okay, and the rash generally starts behind the ears and then spreads everywhere. It's maculopapular sort of rash. Rubella odia rash more starts in the face and then spreads caudally, followed by your behind the ear, suboccipital lymph nodes and all will be present if you're having a rubella. And non-infectious causes of similar kind of presentation, you will think of Kawasaki disease. So Kawasaki is a very close differential. The differences would be in Kawasaki, you might have conjunctival involvement, whereas in this, there is no conjunctival involvement. In Kawasaki, you tend to have non-tender cervical lymphadenopathy. Here, there will be a tender cervical lymphadenopathy. And in Kawasaki, the desquamation starts more in the second week, whereas scarlet fever in the first week it starts. And in Kawasaki, it is more sheet-like desquamation, whereas in scarlet fever, it's more patchy, flaky desquamation, which happens. Okay. And generally, by third to fifth day, sometimes even without antibiotic therapy, your scarlet fever will get better. Whereas Kawasaki, they tend to continue to have persistent high-grade fevers. And Kawasaki never has any exudates anywhere. Throat pakumbodhu, even though it is red, they don't have any exudative phenomena. Okay. So these are all the common differentials to consider. Okay, so now you have a child who's having high-grade fever, toxic looking, exudative tonsils, lymph node, your rapid antigen detection for streptococcus is positive. Now, how do you treat? You treat based upon whether the child is allergic to penicillin or not allergic to penicillin. Okay, so if you know the allergy status, then you see what sort of reaction child has had. If it is a mild non-IgE based reaction, some skin reaction few days after starting some penicillin based antibiotic, then it's generally a non-IgE based reaction. Then you can go ahead with cephalexin, cefpodoxim, cefuroxim, oral therapy. Okay, yeah. Suppose patient is telling, no, I have had a reaction to penicillin or penicillin group of antibiotic. Within 1 to 2 days of starting antibiotic, I had gut symptoms, I had skin symptoms. Then it's more probably a IgE mediated reaction. And if it's a mild IgE mediated reaction like what I described, then you can still go ahead with cefpodoxim, cefuroxim, clindamycin or azithromycin. If they are telling something like an anaphylactic reaction, it looked like a severe allergic reaction involving an organ system, then you will choose either clindamycin or azithromycin. Okay. So important point to note here is if it is non-IgE mediated, even cephalexin will be in one of your choices of antibiotics. Whereas if it is a IgE mediated reaction, prefer to go for a third generation cephalosporin. Why? Because the penicillin ring is non-identical in the third generation of cephalosporins compared to that of your previous generation of cephalosporins, where the penicillin ring is similar to that of your penicillin. Okay, yeah. So dosing ella, it is nicely given in the table. Duration of treatment is 10 days. You need to remember that. Okay. Though few studies with third generation cephalosporins have told 5 days is as good as 10 days. The general consensus is you treat for 10 days. Azithromycin you treat for 5 days. Azithromycin dose will be 12 mg per kg once daily. Okay. Be very wary before you go ahead and use azithromycin. Why? Because macrolide resistance is on the rise. Okay, so this is about treatment. What are all the complications that can happen? Suppurative complications, non-suppurative complications. Suppurative complication, wherever you can imagine pus, this organism can cause pus. Okay, so it can be otitis media, it can be sinusitis, it can be peritonsillar abscess, it can be cervical lymph node abscess, it can be mastoid abscess, it can be bacteremia, sepsis, pneumonia, you can have necrotizing pneumonia, all of that can happen. Non-suppurative complications, our classical acute rheumatic fever, post-streptococcal rheumatic arthritis, your post-streptococcal glomerular nephritis, PANDAS, all of these will come as non-suppurative immunological complications of a streptococcal infection. So prevention, this specifically, see, it is spread through respiratory droplets. So if somebody is having symptoms classical, isolate them. Let them stay at home till fever resolves. Respiratory hygiene, hand washing, and management of close contacts is important. Routine prophylaxis is not needed. At the moment, there are no specific licensed vaccine that is there to target streptococcal pyogenes, but it is in the pipeline. So key targets are M protein based vaccines, non-M protein based antigen vaccines, and combinations where both M protein and non-M protein antigens they are creating vaccines. Okay. So these are all the key points that you need to remember when you are talking about scarlet fever. So one point that I want you to remember is when you're seeing a patient in your OPD, somebody who's having lot of runny nose, conjunctiva, hoarseness of voice, full chuku chuku chuku, child is coughing, then this is unlikely to be a streptococcal infection. More goes in favor of a viral infection. Okay. Patient is not having runny nose, conjunctival, hoarseness, acute stomatitis, ulcers are not there, and they are coming with just throat pain, red throat, cervical lymphadenopathy, high grade fever, more in favor of a bacterial infection. Okay, so that's about scarlet fever. You need to write 2 words in introduction: re-emerging infection, epidemiology, 5 to 15 years, your respiratory droplet spread, your winter season, spring season. It's a group A streptococcus, beta hemolytic streptococcus. You need to talk about bacteria. Classical clinical features you need to write. Differential diagnosis, infectious, non-infectious, you need to know. Investigation, rapid antigen testing, cultures when do you send, and PCR testing you should know. Treatment wise, all your amoxicillin, your cephalosporins, your clindamycin, and your azithromycin. When to use what you should know. Okay. Thank you. Bye bye.